So, fretless bass, that's pretty scary. How you doing? It's Martin Cliffe. Welcome to another Music Minimalism and Mental Health. And I just wanted to kind of address that topic that a lot of people think about in terms of, well, there's a few things that people ask about when it comes to playing fretless bass. Something I'm far from an expert about. But one of the main debates is about do you use a lined fretless or an unlined fretless? What does that mean? Well, a lined fretless has lines usually of a lighter coloured wood. Typically, fretless fingerboards are made of ebony, and you'll have where the fret would be a line of a lighter wood, say maple, inserted into the board so that you can see where you are. Now, fingering is still different on a fretless because you actually need to finger over the fret rather than behind it. So you've got to be aware of where you are as well. It's a lot more than just fretting in the normal places. But at the same time, that can really help you know where you are. Typically, you won't have dots on a fretboard except on the side, maybe. But at least it can help you if it's difficult to hear. It can help your intonation to know roughly, where the line is, so where you should, in theory, be fingering. You have actually an unlined fretboard where it looks much slicker. It's kind of more kind of traditional. Usually you'll still have the marks on the sides so you can see where they are. Definitely looks cooler playing an unlined fretless. And it's something that, as I'm toying with the idea maybe of next year ordering another fretless, to order an unlined one, just because there's something about them. I've played, I've owned 4 fretless basses in my life. My first one was unlined. The other 3 have been lined. One because it was a defretted, fretted bass. That's a bit of a mouthful. But the other 3, obviously, my Mike Lowell is lined, and the Yamaha TRB 52F that Ed now owns, it was also lined. And then the 4 strings that Rob now owns, that had been a fretted bass because he never made a fretless 4 string. And that's definitely kind of come down to using lined fretlesses more. But as I started on an unlined fretless, and that, again, coming from a position of kind of wanting to feel more like, at that time, a double bass player. I always wanted to play double bass in the orchestra, but our double bass at school was severely damaged, so I was never able to actually play that. So I ended up playing fretless bass guitar in the orchestra, which was slightly odd, but it was a school. What can you do? So I started out on unlined. I never found it particularly a handicap. I'm not someone who necessarily looks at my hands too much anyway, and I've got a reasonably good ear for pitch. As long as there's not too much going on, so it's helpful to be close enough to your amp where you can hear what's going on. Sometimes in a loud band contest, that can be a little bit more tricky. But it's about getting used to positions and stuff, and kind of not playing anything beyond you, really, which is something that we should probably try and do more often. All too often there's a tendency for musicians and bass players in particular to showboat and play more complicated stuff than is perhaps at the level that it should be for the music, at least, if for nothing else. The other big question that people ask when it comes to fretless is strings. Should I go for the typical is flat wound strings? Round wound strings can have a great snap if you want to do the kind of Jacko thing, but they do really chew up a fretboard over time. Particularly if you kind of do vibrato more like a guitar, the side to side vibrato, as opposed to the kind of linear vibrato of like a cello player or something, you're really going to chew up your fretboard, your fingerboard with round wound strings. And there's a kind of halfway in between, which is kind of ground wound or half rounds. Different companies call them different things, which is kind of built as a round wound string and then kind of sanded down or filed down, I guess, to be not completely round. So it has a bit of a flat wound feel, a little bit less finger noise, a little bit wear of the fingerboard, but brighter sound than flat wounds. And then in the other direction, you have the kind of tape wound, the nylon covered strings, which are quite mellow sounding, lower in tension. I have a set that I'm meaning to put on my fretless to try it at some point, but I haven't done yet. So if you've never played a fretless, definitely worth giving it a go. They're very cool instruments to play, but it takes a little bit of getting used to, or a lot of getting used to. And it helps to, as I say, be able to hear yourself well, and have good kind of pitch concepts. And particularly, if you're playing an unlined fretless, that's a little bit of an extra step. I'd like one for the challenge, Why would I consider buying a second fretless bass? Well, a couple of reasons. The main one being that I want one with a thinner nut width. I want one with the 1 9/16 inch nut width rather than the 1 3/4 nut width, because that's what my fretted basses, other than my P5, have got. So yeah, a different style of fretless bass, but maybe with a neck that I can swap over for. So I'd probably go for like a PGA or something, a passive bass. But with a 24 fret neck, so I can swap the necks over and use the neck that's currently on the fretless you saw at the start of the video on that bass, and have the narrower spacing on an unlined board on the M5. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts. Fretless is cool. It's very different. It takes a little bit more thought. Maybe slows you down a little bit. Definitely lends itself to a different style of playing, but all that will kind of help you develop as a musician. And yeah, sometimes a little bit of challenge is good for our mental health, keep our sort of brain ticking over and make us think a little bit more. So if you've not already, subscribe to the channel, click that thumbs up icon, that's really appreciated. And I will see you next time with something else. Who knows? Take care.